Discover the miraculous power of gratitude. Transform complaints into blessings through prayer. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, as the sun bore down mercilessly upon the encamped Israelites in the wilderness, the air thickened with restlessness. The people, once bound in slavery under Pharaoh, now wandered freely yet felt shackled by their miseries. Their voices resonated through the barren landscape, filled with heavy lamentations, drowning out the sacred promise of the land flowing with milk and honey. The broad expanse of desert lay ahead, an echo of their failures and fears, and they turned their eyes toward the horizon, hungry not just for food, but for hope. Would that we had the fleshpots of Egypt! They cried, where we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full. In their discontent, they forgot the bitter herbs of their toil, the chains that had restrained their spirits. Their hearts were weighed down with ingratitude, thick like the dust that caked their feet. It was in this desperate murmuring, stirred by the Lord's ear, that he felt a righteous spark of disappointment ignite the heavens. Moses, the humble shepherd chosen to lead this obstinate gathering, looked upon the people with a heart burdened by their complaints. He approached the tent of meeting with a spirit heavy yet seeking, kneeling before the Lord. "O Lord," he poured out, "why have you laid this mighty burden upon me? Am I to bear the burden of all these people alone? Where can solace be found amid their unending complaints?" The tears of his soul fell like the rain of the heavens that seemed so far removed from their parched land. In tenderness, God bore his faithful servant's pleas. "Gather for me 70 elders from among the Israelites," he said, "I will take of the Spirit that is upon you and put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you." Hope flickered in Moses' heart, recognizing that he would not labor alone. The elders were chosen, each one representing the tribes that lay fragmented in despair. As the Spirit fell upon the 70, a profound transformation began, yet still the cries for flesh echoed in the camp. Their longing was insatiable, a ravenous hunger for more than mere sustenance. Yet, lo, the Lord, in his infinite grace, promised a deluge of quail. The air soon danced with the aroma of provision, quail drifting as manna from the heavens. Yet would they understand this bounty as the Lord's hand upon them? Would they turn their complaints into gratitude and thereby witness miracles unfold? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As night cloaked the weary camp and the Israelites feasted upon the quail, surrounded by divine provision, the hearts that had complained now filled their mouths with meat. Yet, in the shadows loomed the specter of judgment, waiting for the moment when the denial of gratitude would declare its consequences. Would their hearts change, embracing the bounty they had received, or would they continue in bitterness, forfeiting the very miracles laid before them? The question hung in the air, resonating through generations. How often do we stand on the edge of grace with hearts filled with grievances instead of gratitude? As the Israelites savored their fill, the desire for a deeper encounter with the God who provides remained. The story was but the beginning, pulling readers into a divine mystery that beckoned for resolution, a calling for every believer to consider where their heart lies amid the wilderness of life. As the dawn broke over the encampment, a golden light spilled across the rocky landscape, illuminating the faces of the Israelites who had rejoiced yet again in the bounty bestowed upon them. The scent of quail lingered in the air, reminding them of the Lord's swift response to their cries. Yet as the day began anew, so did their hearts wrestle with the true nature of their condition. With their bellies full but their spirits still yearning, they gathered around the tent of meeting, each tribe's elder imparting their own complaints with a fervor that ranged from heartfelt to desperate. "Moses," they pleaded, "will the Lord give us water, for we thirst, we perish in this desolate land." Their voices rose and fell like the waves upon a troubled sea, seeking solace and resolution from their leader. The Spirit of the Lord fell once more upon Moses, and with a heavy heart, he again approached the Lord, despair shadowing his features. "What shall I do with this people?" he cried, turning to the heavens as if expecting a divine answer through the very clouds overhead. "They are ready to stone me." The Lord spoke with gentle authority, "Take the rod in your hand, the same rod with which you struck the Nile. Gather the people once more, and speak to the rock before their eyes. It shall yield its water, and you shall give drink to the congregation and their livestock." Heeding the command, Moses assembled the people, his voice strained yet resolute. "Hear now, you rebels. Shall we bring forth water from this rock?" In his fervor, as his spirit roiled beneath the weight of their incessant demands, he struck the rock with the rod not as instructed, but out of frustration. The water gushed forth, pouring life into the parched soil and refreshing the throats of the people. Yet in that moment of unfaithfulness, the Lord's heart ached for his servant. As the waters flowed with divine abundance, a heaviness hung in the balance. God spoke to Moses, "Because you did not believe me, to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them." A somber silence fell among the people, their joy mingled with the heaviness of this stern judgment echoing through the wilderness. As they drank deeply from the flowing rock, the hearts of the Israelites wrestled not only with physical thirst, but now with spiritual dread. Would their own ungratefulness lead them to a similar fate? In the depths of their unrest, they began to understand that gratitude was more than mere words, it was a posture of the heart that opened the door to miraculous provision. In the following days, they journeyed onward, yet the implications of their grumbling sounded like distant thunder, promising trials ahead. They would continue to witness the miraculous in their daily bread and the sweeping skies responsive to their needs, yet they must hold steadfast in their gratitude. The unfolding narrative whispered of the wilderness as more than a mere trial, it was a crucible shaping them for promise. And so, in the midst of trials, the people began to ponder, what greater revelations awaited them? As they moved toward the mountains of their inheritance, would their gratitude draw them closer to the heart of the God who led them, or would they falter in the desert of discontent? Thus, the chapters of their lives turned, revealing an even greater plan hidden beneath the surface, a plan that would stretch far beyond the sands they trod. A longing grew in the hearts of the faithful, asking, "What more does the Lord desire to show us?" For within the wilderness, his sovereign plan was but beginning to unfold, promising a tapestry of grace intertwined with their rebellion, beckoning them toward the promise of the land that awaited. As the Israelites continued their arduous journey through the barren wilderness, the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows upon the rocks and dust that surrounded them. Their hearts heavy with discontent, some began to raise their voices once more, recounting the flesh pots of Egypt and lamenting the lack of variety in their daily fare. "Oh, that we had meat to eat!" they cried in unison, voices tinged with nostalgia and bitterness. "We remember the fish, and the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away, there is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes." Numbers 11:4-6. Moses stood aghast, stricken by the weight of their grievances, for he had poured forth his heart in service to them, guided by the very hand of God. Seeking solace, he went unto the Lord in earnest sorrow, praying, "Why hast thou afflicted thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me?" Numbers 11:11. He pleaded earnestly, wrestling with despair that threatened to engulf him. The Lord, ever merciful, did not turn away from Moses' laments. "Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel," he commanded, "whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee." Numbers 11:16. And so it was, with renewed purpose, that Moses obeyed. The 70 elders were gathered, each bearing the mark of spiritual leadership, yet they bore the same burdensome fears that plagued the people. As they gathered at the entrance of the tabernacle, the Spirit of the Lord descended upon them, and they prophesied. Nevertheless, among them were Eldad and Medad, who had remained in the camp. The Spirit rested upon them too, and they prophesied there, causing great wonder among the people. A young man rushed to tell Moses, Eldad and Medad do prophesy in the camp. Numbers 11:27. Joshua, son of Nun, seethed with a protective zeal. My lord Moses, forbid them. He implored. Moses, however, replied with a heart as wide as the desert sky, saying, Enviest thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. Numbers 11:29. Soon, the Lord's hand compelled Moses, as he promised him meat to satisfy the cravings of the people for an entire month. You shall not eat for a day, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, he declared. But even a whole month, until it come out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you. Numbers 11:19-20. But Moses, seeing the vastness of the task, questioned in bewilderment, Shall the flocks and the herds be slain for them, to suffice them? Numbers 11:22. Underneath the burden of their demands and expectations, he wrestled against doubt. Yet the Lord responded powerfully, affirming, Is the Lord's hand waxed short? Thou shalt see now whether my word shall come to pass unto thee or not. Numbers 11:23. As the winds of the Spirit swirled into the camp, quail descended from the skies in abundance, filling the air with a promise of sustenance. It was a symbol of divine provision amidst human frailty. Yet the hearts of the people, entangled in craving, soon cast aside their gratitude, losing sight of the God who had delivered them. As they gathered the meat, a curse was upon them, for they consumed with greedy hearts, forgetting the miracle of God's daily provision. In the aftermath of their gluttony, the Lord's anger burned against them. The Israelites fell into a grievous plague, a stark reminder of the cost of ungratefulness. And thus, the people named the place Kibroth-Hattaavah, meaning the graves of craving, where many fell, overwhelmed by the weight of their desires. Yet in the midst of this, the children of Israel learned a sacred lesson, to cultivate a heart that embraces gratitude, lest they find themselves swallowed by their own discontent. As they pressed on through the wilderness, the question loomed, echoing in their hearts, what greater wonders awaited beyond the horizon, and how might gratitude transform their fleeting complaints into blessings yet unseen? For even in their rebellion, God's sovereign plan was being woven together, poised to reveal his glory amid trials, destined to lead them to a land flowing with milk and honey. And the people journeyed on from Kibroth-Hattaavah, and the cloud of the Lord led them forward, guiding their steps through the desolate wilderness. But the spirit of discontent lingered among them, as the memory of their past failures whispered insidiously through the camp. Who will satisfy our desires? They murmured, forgetting the hand of the Almighty that had delivered them from bondage. Then the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Gather the people, that they may hear my commandments and observe my statutes. Numbers 15:1. And Moses obeyed, calling the assembly together at the foot of Mount Sinai, where the air was thick with expectation and dread. He reminded them of the miracles God had wrought, of the 10 plagues that had claimed the hearts of the Egyptians, and of the parting of the Red Sea that had allowed them to escape to freedom. Yet, among the assembled, the children of Israel began to complain again, saying, Are we to wander forever in this wilderness? Our bellies are empty. Have you brought us out here to die? Exodus 16:3. And the Lord heard their cries, and his anger burned hot within him. Shall I give them a standing place at the table of my mercy? He declared vehemently, for their hearts are hardened, and their stubbornness knows no bounds. Then Moses, falling to his knees, pleaded before the Lord, O Lord, do not let these people perish because of their ungratefulness. Remember your covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the Lord, in his boundless compassion, responded, Tomorrow I will rain bread from heaven for you. The people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law. Exodus 16:4. The dawn broke with a miracle. A fine, flake-like thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground appeared. And the people saw it and said to one another, What is it? Exodus 16:15. For they knew not what it was. Moses proclaimed unto them, This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. Exodus 16 verse 15. But among them arose a discontented spirit with each piece they collected, they questioned the perfection of the provision. What shall we do with this manna? It is not enough. Yet God's tender grace remained, instructing them to gather according to their families and not to hoard, for he would provide each day anew. And on the 6th day, when the Lord instructed them to gather twice as much, they obeyed. They prepared it for the Sabbath, delighting in the taste of his goodness. Yet some sought to gather on the Sabbath, and the Lord said unto Moses, How long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? Exodus 16 verse 28. As they continued their journey, Moses lifted up his hands towards heaven and prayed for strength, saying, O Lord, do not let their hearts be hardened. Let them find joy in your provision, for I am weary with their incessant sighs. And from the tabernacle of meeting, the Lord's voice answered, Calm yet powerful, I have promised to be with you. Trust in my ways, for they are higher than your own. Isaiah 55 verse 9. And there arose a moment of silence, thick with the realization of his presence among them. They began to give thanks, recalling the stories of their forefathers who had walked in faith. Yet, in that very moment of grace, a new question began to stir within the hearts of the Israelites. What more shall he do for us? What lies beyond the horizon? And little did they know, the unfolding of God's sovereign plan would soon reveal itself in ways they could not yet comprehend, preparing them for a greater miracle than they had ever dared to dream. And it came to pass that the people journeyed onward, their feet weary but their hearts heavy with doubt. They had tasted the heavenly bread that the Lord had provided, yet the desire for flesh filled their minds. If only we had meat to eat! They cried out, recalling the abundance of Egypt. In Egypt we sat by the meat pots, and we ate bread to the full, but here, we are perishing in this wilderness. Exodus 16 verse 3. Moses was troubled by their complaint, for he heard the murmurs rising higher than the sound of the winds of the wilderness. He turned to the Lord, saying, Why have you afflicted your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight, that you lay the burden of all this people upon me? Numbers 11:11. The depth of his despair pierced his spirit, as he felt the weight of their accusations and ungratefulness. The Lord, in his infinite mercy, spoke unto Moses, Gather unto me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people, and bring them unto the tabernacle of meeting, that they may stand there with you. Numbers 11:16. Moses obeyed, assembling the men before the Lord who would share the burden of leading the people. As they stood together in sacred assembly, the Spirit of the Lord descended upon them, and they prophesied, filled with divine purpose and courage. Yet, among the people, the longing for meat turned into resentment. Thus, the Lord said to Moses, You shall tell the people, Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. Numbers 11:18. The anticipation grew as the people gathered in excitement at the promise of meat to satisfy their fleshly desires. They cried out, We want meat. We shall eat meat. They held fast to their discontent, ever chasing the tastes of Egypt rather than embracing the heavenly provision. Moses, bewildered by the enormity of their request, asked the Lord, Shall flocks and herds be slain for them to suffice? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them? Numbers 11:22. The Lord replied, Is the Lord's hand shortened? You shall see whether my word shall come to pass or not. Numbers 11:23. Then a wind from the Lord blew across the land, bringing quail from the sea, and the flesh fell upon the camp, a multitude gathered in their sight. They gathered quail all day and night, so much that they overflowed, while still the manna lay unheeded upon the ground. Yet the Lord's anger burned against the people as they gnawed on the flesh, for they were unthankful. And thus, it was that while the meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of the Lord was kindled, and a great plague struck the people, for they had despised the bounty of their heavenly provider. Numbers 11:33. And among the graves of their lusting, a new name arose, Kibroth-Hattaavah, the graves of craving. A bitter lesson learned as they journeyed deeper into the wilderness, grappling with discontent and the call to gratitude. They wandered, not only in the desert but in the wilderness of their hearts. The people began to recognize their error, the futility of hunger that rooted itself in mistrust. And as they gave thanks for the provision of the Lord, even among their trials, the spirit of gratitude stirred anew. But hidden within their cries, the whispers beckoned them further. What other wonders did the Lord have in store? What promised land awaited them, beyond the horizon of their struggles? They stood at the brink of a revelation yet unseen, where God's sovereign plan would not only quench their thirst but pour out blessings unmeasured, revealing the depths of His unfathomable grace. And it came to pass that the people, having tasted the bitterness of their cravings, began to turn their hearts towards the Lord once more. The lessons of Kibroth Hattaavah echoed in their minds, a stark reminder of the perils of ungratefulness. Yet, despite the dangerous lure of their appetites, hope flickered anew within their souls. They noticed a change in the air, as if the very winds of the wilderness carried whispers of divine promises yet unfulfilled. In the midst of their wandering, Moses sought the face of the Lord, yearning for understanding. He entered the tabernacle, and there, the glory of the Lord shone forth, enveloping him in holy light. "O Lord," he cried, "what shall we do to remain in your favor? How shall we ensure the hearts of this people turn to you?" Exodus 33 verse 13. The Lord answered him, "I will provide for them, not just their needs but the desires of their hearts, if they will humble themselves and seek me. Tell them to turn their eyes from the past, for I am leading them to a land flowing with milk and honey, a covenant fulfilled." Exodus 3 verse 8. Thus, Moses returned to the camp, his face radiant with the glory of the Lord. As he addressed the congregation, a strange stillness fell upon the crowd. "Hear me, O children of Israel," he called, "the Lord has heard your lamentations and your cries. Do not forget the ways He has provided. He gives us not merely to satisfy our flesh but to teach our hearts gratitude and trust." As they listened, an awakening began within the hearts of many. No longer did they seek only the fleeting pleasures of Egypt, they recognized the deeper hunger that dwelt within the hunger for a relationship with the Almighty, who led them by fire and cloud. An elder spoke, "Let us recall His steadfast love. Is it not He who brought us out of bondage with a mighty hand? Can we not trust Him to lead us through this wilderness?" Psalm 136 verse 12. And so, they began to gather in unity, lifting their voices in praise to the Lord. They sang songs of deliverance and recounted the mighty deeds He had done. Each note carried the weight of faith awakened, every word solidifying their bond with the One who called them His own. They remembered His faithfulness and began to see the manna upon the ground not as a burden but as a gift, a continual reminder of God's provision. Yet amidst this turning, the Lord was preparing something greater. For soon, their journey would not only be about survival, it would erupt into a testimony of divine empowerment. There would come a time when the very foundations of the land they sought would tremble at His command, when the river would part and the walls of Jericho would fall at a shout. Moses discerned the shift in the atmosphere, a fragrance of destiny unfolding. "Prepare yourselves, O Israel," he proclaimed, "for the Lord will do marvels among us. The time draws near when our faith will be called forth, and through our obedience, we shall see His wonders." Joshua 3 verse 5. As shadows of a promise lingered upon the horizon, a sense of anticipation gripped the people. What would this promised land be like? What mighty acts awaited them in obedience to His word? Little did they know, the greatest test was yet to come, a testament not just of their journey but of the very nature of their God, whose sovereign plan was woven into every step they took. And it came to pass that the people, stirred by the call of Moses and the whispers of divine assurance, began to gather together more fervently. Their hearts, once heavy with despair, now throbbed with hope, as the promise of the Lord ignited their spirits like a fire upon dry wood. Moses, sensing the fervency in their spirits, spoke again, saying, "Let us prepare ourselves to receive what the Lord has declared. Cleanse your hearts and your garments, for in 3 days, the Lord will come down upon Mount Sinai, and He shall speak to us." Exodus 19 verses 10 to 11. With hearts aligned, they obeyed, washing themselves and putting on clean garments, preparing to encounter the Almighty. As the day approached, anticipation rippled through the camp, for the presence of the Lord was no small matter, it was a testament to his fidelity and a call to holiness. On the morning of the third day, thunder roared and lightning flashed above Mount Sinai. A thick cloud enveloped the mountain, and the sound of a trumpet grew louder and louder. The people trembled in awe and fear, for they were to stand at the foot of the holy mount before their God. Exodus 19 verses 16 to 18. Moses ascended the mountain, climbing through the quaking earth that seemed to resonate with divine presence. As he reached the summit, the Lord spoke, his voice like rolling thunder, yet gentle as a whisper. Behold, I am the God of your forefathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Draw near, and I shall declare my covenant anew, for my plans for you are greater than what you have imagined. Exodus 3 verse 6. Moses, filled with reverence, responded, Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And so the Lord began to speak the 10 Commandments, a foundation of righteousness intended to guide his people into the fullness of their calling and relationship with him. Exodus 20 verses 1 to 17. Meanwhile, the people below, awestruck and trembling, dared not approach the mountain. Yet within their hearts stirred a desire, the need to know this God who was leading them. An elder among them raised his voice, Moses, who shall we be in the sight of the Lord if we do not heed his words? Can we not rise in faith, stepping out from the shadows of our past? As they listened to Moses' voice echoing down to them, they began to pledge their lives to the Lord, declaring, All that the Lord has spoken, we will do. Exodus 19 verse 8. Yet even as they committed themselves to his covenant, a seed of wavering remained, for the shadows of doubt always lingered at the edges of faith. They remembered their hardships and longings for comfort and the familiar of Egypt. But the Lord's voice thundered louder, Do not fear, for I am with you. Keep your heart steadfast and trust in my goodness, for I will provide for you in ways beyond understanding. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Moses returned from the mount, his face radiant with glory as he carried the tablets inscribed by the hand of God. The people gazed upon him in awe, their hearts beating in rhythm with the divine purpose unfolding among them. And as they received the commandments, a deeper understanding dawned upon them. The Lord was not only revealing his expectations but was also inviting them into a sacred relationship, a covenant born out of love and reverence, a chance to reflect his glory to the nations. As they turned away from past grievances and embraced the covenant, the Spirit of the Lord stirred among them. They had begun to glimpse the true essence of gratitude, not merely in what they received, but in the very act of surrendering their hearts fully unto him. But hidden within this awakening was the greater mystery of God's plan, for soon, they would face trials that would expose the depths of their loyalty, and the stage would be set for the outpouring of his miraculous provision. Would they hold fast in trust when tested, or falter in the face of adversity? A line was drawn, and the divine narrative would unfold, revealing that even in their weakness, God's strength would be made manifest. And it came to pass, as the people of Israel stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, enveloped in awe and wonder, that Moses descended from the mountain with the tablets of the law held tightly in his grasp. The glory of the Lord shined upon him, and the people beheld the radiance of his face, which reflected the divine encounter he had experienced. Exodus 34 verse 29. Moses gathered the assembly, his voice echoing with authority yet tempered with grace. Hear, O Israel! He proclaimed. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 to 5. Thus, he proclaimed the greatest commandment, unfolding the heart of the covenant they had solemnly accepted. The murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, yet doubt still lingered like shadows upon their hearts. Several among them recalled the comforts of Egypt, their longing for the flesh pots, the fish, and the cucumbers of their former life. Numbers 11:5. Will this path lead us to a land flowing with milk and honey? They questioned among themselves. As days passed, the people, faced with uncertainty, wrestled with their faith. Their hearts, once aflame with loyalty, now flickered like candlelight in a tempest. Moses, seeing their struggle, went once more to the Lord. He ascended Sinai, seeking divine reassurance for a wandering people. Exodus 19 verse 20. The Lord met him with renewed strength and instructions. I shall make a dwelling among my people. Construct a tabernacle that I may dwell in their midst, he commanded, Exodus 25 verse 8. The Lord unveiled the intricate details of the sanctuary, a place where heaven would touch earth. It would be a sign of his presence and their identity as his chosen. Moses, filled with divine purpose, descended once again, this time with a blueprint of hope. As he explained the vision for the tabernacle, the people listened with rapt attention, their hearts ignited by a new faith. Let us bring our offerings, they declared. Let each one contribute from the abundance the Lord has given us, and let us build a place for his glory. Exodus 35 verse 5. And so, from that day forth, the people rallied together. The willing-hearted brought gold and silver, fine linens, and fragrant oils. Women spun yarn with skill, while artisans crafted with precision. A spirit of unity enveloped the camp as they labored together for the glory of the Lord, Exodus 36 verses 3-6. Yet, among them, there were those who felt unable to give. Some whispered, "What difference can our meager offerings make?" In heard whispers and heartache, doubt attempted to spread like a vine. But Moses, sensing their apprehension, lifted his voice once more, proclaiming, "Remember the faithfulness of our God. It is not the size of the offering, but the heart that gives." As the tabernacle took shape, the people saw the beauty of their collective efforts manifest. The Lord's presence would dwell among them, not because of their wealth but through their willing hearts. A sweet fragrance of unity and worship rose to heaven, and the glory of the Lord enveloped the work of their hands. But in this journey of devotion lay a deeper revelation, for as the tabernacle was being built, the truth was unfolding. The Lord was preparing not only a dwelling place but a vibrant community of faith. A people called to reflect his glory to the world. The time was approaching when their greatest trial would come, a test of faith that would either break or refine them. Would their gratitude transform complaints into blessings, or would they falter before the obstacles ahead? And as the clouds gathered above Mount Sinai, the mighty hand of God was poised to reveal his sovereign plan, a magnificent tapestry of grace woven through trials, where each thread of their obedience and every act of gratitude would echo through the ages. What they did not yet know was how this journey would lead them to discover a deeper revelation of his everlasting promise. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the congregation, the Israelites continued their sacred labors, fabricating the tabernacle that would house the presence of the Almighty. The clinks of metal, the rustle of fabrics, and the sweet scents of offerings mingled in the air, creating a symphony of devotion. Yet, in the midst of joy, a tumult brewed quietly among the camp. And it came to pass, dreaded whispers crept through the tents, that some began to regret their choices. They longed for the comforts of Egypt, reminiscing about the abundance they had tasted, their mouths watering for the garlic and leeks left behind. Despite witnessing the mighty hand of God at work, the specter of doubt festered in the hearts of the ungrateful. Moses, sensing the unrest, sought the face of the Lord once more. His heart was heavy as he climbed the mountain, each step echoing the fervent prayers he poured out. "O Lord," he pleaded, "how can this people, filled with both promise and peril, be led to the land you have sworn to give them?" And the Lord responded with a mighty voice, "You shall remind them of my faithfulness. Speak unto them of the miracles I have wrought in their sight. For I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of Egyptian bondage, who parted the sea before them, and who has provided manna in the wilderness. They shall not fear, for I am with them." Returning to the people, Moses gathered them at the foot of the tabernacle. "Hear me, children of Israel," he called, his voice undergirded by the authority of heaven. "Remember the day the Lord delivered you from bondage. Remember the plagues that struck Egypt, the blood marking your doorposts, the fire and the cloud that led you by day and night." Exodus 12 verses 12-13. The faces of the people, once somber and skeptical, turned towards him, gradually awakening to the truth. Let your hearts reflect gratitude for all he has done, for your very lives are the evidence of his love and might. As Moses continued, their hearts began to soften, and in that moment, transformation stirred as a ripple across the crowd. They began to exchange glances, feelings of longing for Egypt replaced with renewed visions of the promised land. "Let us not dwell in shadows," they murmured amongst themselves, "but march forward with faith." They gathered, hearts ablaze, as Moses urged them to bring forth their offerings once more, not out of obligation, but in joyful gratitude. The previously hesitant ones stepped forth, arms unburdened by worry, freely giving of their possessions. There were waves of gold and silver, rich linens and spices that flowed as streams from their hearts unto the sanctuary. Moses watched as the people, once divided by doubt, became intertwined in the fabric of purpose. The tabernacle shall now be a testament to our gratitude, a reminder of his unchanging promise. Yet, unknown to them, a deeper trial lay upon the horizon, one that would test their faith in ways unimaginable. The Lord whispered into Moses' heart, revealing that soon they would encounter fierce adversaries who would seek to turn their hearts back to fear and discontent. And amid this divine plan, the Lord laid a profound truth upon Moses: through gratitude, they would find strength to face the giants in their path. For every act of overt thankfulness would become a weapon, a shield against despair, a beacon of hope. Thus, the people labored, their efforts mingled with praises unto the Lord. Together, they built not just a tabernacle but also a community fortified through acts of thanksgiving. And as the sun set, great courage arose. They were unaware that soon every heart would be tested, every faith would be challenged, and through the flames of trial, the truest spirit of gratitude would emerge, a remnant refined in the fire of his purpose, where obedience and thankfulness weave the story of redemption. "For I know the plans I have for you," the Lord declared through Moses, "plans not for your calamity, but for a future filled with hope." The path ahead promised trials, yet it was through these trials that his everlasting promise would take root and flourish, revealing the profound mystery of his sovereign grace waiting to be uncovered. And so, the people continued on their journey through the wilderness, their hearts now ignited with gratitude and strengthened by a newfound unity. The echoes of their past complaints dimmed as they looked toward the horizon, emboldened with the promise that lay before them, a land flowing with milk and honey, a dwelling place of peace bestowed by their God. Yet, as days grew into weeks, and weeks into months, the Lord knew a deeper test awaited this stubborn heart of his people. They would soon face not just the trials of hunger or thirst, but the daunting giants of fear that could bring their faith crashing down. Aware of the impending challenge, Moses sought the Lord's guidance, climbing the craggy heights of Sinai once more. "O Lord," he declared, breathless in the presence of the Almighty, "what shall I say to this people in their hour of trial? How shall their fragile hearts remember your steadfastness when faced with impossibilities?" The skies, heavy with expectation, held a sacred silence as the Lord spoke, his voice reverberating like thunder over the mountaintops. "Tell them, my beloved, that every trial they face is but a stepping stone leading to a greater revelation of my love and might. When they encounter adversity, let gratitude be their outcry. For as they hold fast to thankfulness, I will be their shield, and they shall find refuge beneath my wings." Psalm 91 verse 4. Thus, filled with divine commission, Moses descended the mountain, determined to share these assurances with the people. Gathering them in the valley, he proclaimed, "Children of Israel, the Lord has declared a promise over you. The trials ahead will not be for your downfall but for your refinement. Each challenge is an opportunity for his glory to shine forth." Yet within the hearts of the assembly, unease began to stir once more. When the people heard the ominous word of impending battles, a flicker of doubt sparked, reminiscent of their earlier discontent. "Moses," they murmured, their voices low, "will we not return to those who have enslaved us? Who can withstand such mighty foes?" The weight of their anxieties pressed heavily upon Moses. In that sacred moment, tears filled his eyes as he sought the Lord's intervention. "O sovereign God," he prayed, "strengthen their faith as you have strengthened mine. Remind them of your deeds. For how shall they overcome fear, unless they cling to your promises?" And the Lord answered, "Gather my people on the morrow, and let them prepare their hearts. For I shall reveal my glory before them, and in my presence, there will be peace." As dawn broke, the people assembled, their anticipation palpable in the air. The sun of righteousness began to rise, illuminating the camp with ethereal light. And as Moses lifted his staff, the Lord thundered from the heavens, revealing his mighty hand in ways the Israelites had never seen. A pillar of cloud descended, enveloping them in divine protection, while in the distance, the earth trembled beneath the feet of their enemies. "Fear not," Moses called, his voice reverberating through the air. "For the Lord will go before you. This day, you will witness the salvation of the Lord." Exodus 14 verse 13. With that declaration, the people laid aside their fears, hearts swelled with courage as they watched the water of the sea parting like curtains before them. The pathway opened, a miraculous way through the depths, as they stepped forward in faith, hearts filled with gratitude for the unfolding wonders of God. Each step across the dry ground became a testament to their journey, a journey not simply of survival, but of transformation. They not only crossed a sea, they crossed from doubt into faith, from complaint into worship. And as Pharaoh's army pursued them, the Lord looked upon the waters, the very barriers between despair and hope, and brought a crushing wave upon their oppressors, delivering his people once and for all. The Israelites stood on the other side, the echoes of salvation ringing in their hearts like a symphony of praise. "The Lord is my strength and my song," they sang, as Miriam led them in worship, "and he has become my salvation." Exodus 15 verse 2. From that day forward, they chose to cultivate gratitude, remembering that their deliverance came not from fleshly desires but from the heavenly promise that had become their reality. They would tell their children of his faithfulness, a legacy of worship rising from their trials. Thus, as they journeyed into the vastness of their inheritance, the Israelites learned that gratitude was not merely an act of thanks, it was a lifestyle that aligned their hearts to the rhythm of God's grace. With each victory, they sowed seeds of faith, and in every hardship, they harvested lessons of trust. As they prepared to enter the promised land, the echoes of their gratitude resonated through their souls. No longer would they long for the Egypt of their past, they were destined for a future painted by their Redeemer's hand, reflecting his glory in a world awaiting a testimony. And now, dear ones, as we reflect on this journey, have you considered the transformative power of gratitude in your own life? Subscribe immediately to our channel, for you need to stay connected to God's Word, and do not miss the next powerful biblical stories awaiting you. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, remembering that this is the moment to help share biblical truth with others. Comment below with your reflections. How has this story impacted your faith and stirred your spirit? We are eager to hear your testimonies. And don't wait even one more second, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth, for only true believers understand the importance of spreading his message to reach more souls for Christ. May the echoes of gratitude lead us all to the promised land that lies ahead.